In this quick tutorial, we're going to look at number boxes as well as lists and replaceable arguments. There are two types of number boxes that we'll talk about, integers and floats, and we will look at how to manipulate these number boxes in a variety of different simple ways. So the furthest left example over here, you'll see is connected to a print box and it says print int. And so you can tell that this number box is for integers or whole numbers. If you click on the bang, you'll see that it outputs and prints the value in the integer box. If you click the message, you will see that it changes the value of the number or integer box and also prints it out. And this is the same for positive and negative numbers, but you'll notice when you hit 3.5, because this is only an integer box and not a floating point number box, it will truncate the number, it will truncate the decimal point, it won't round up or anything, it will just cut it right off, and you will get only the whole number associated with the message that you sent. On the other hand, if you hit a message such as hey, you will get an error message over here saying that the number box doesn't understand the message that was sent. If you send a list to a number box, you will get only the first integer in the list. Finally, set does something a little bit special. What it does is it will set the number box, but you'll notice it does not output the value into the max window. So if you set the box, it's useful if you want to change the value of the number box without actually triggering an output. And then if you wanted to trigger the output subsequently, you would have to hit the bang, for instance. Now, you'll note you can change the number box, the value of the number box, by sending it a message. You can also change by clicking and dragging up or down, and you can see over here it's printing out every single value basically that I'm scrolling up and down to. Alternatively, when the patch is locked, you can also just click on the number box and type in a value and hit either return or click somewhere else in the patch, and it will set the number box to the value that you've entered and output the value. So that's the gist of a number box. The floating point box works basically in the same way. You'll notice the main difference here is that there will always be a decimal point. The main other difference is in terms of how you manipulate the box with a mouse. If you come and scroll on the left-hand side, up or down, you are scrolling through whole numbers. If you click on the right-hand side and scroll up or down, you will scroll through decimal points values. So what's interesting about this little demo over here is that you have a floating point box connected to an integer, connected to another floating point box, and then you have a print result. So if I change the values, I'm clicking on the right-hand side and changing the decimal points, you'll notice nothing is happening below, and that's because the integer box is truncating the values here. So all of this is essentially, in the eyes of the integer box, this is all equivalent to 0. On the other hand, if I scroll on the left, I'm changing the integer value, and you see that that goes all the way through from the floating point to the integer and back to the floating point number box. I should say, to back up, if you want to create a number box, hit Command E to unlock the patch, and then hit I to create an integer box, and F to create a floating a float box. Okay. And hit Command E to go back to a locked position. I'm going to clear my messages over here so we can talk about lists for a minute. So now you see that the messages are connected to a print box that says print list. And if I click on 60 and 30, you get a list of 60 and 30, and so on and so forth. There are many ways to manipulate lists that we will look at later on. For now, it's not particularly important. But something that's interesting here that you'll want to see, looks a little bit unusual, is that you have an integer box connected to a message here, and then the message says my dog has $1 of fleas or $1 fleas. Now, the dollar symbol in Max is a special symbol. A dollar symbol followed by a number indicates an argument that can be replaced by a value from an incoming integer. So in this case, if I change these values here, you'll see what prints out here is the number of fleas that my dog has, which is indicated by this integer box here. Now, if you want to have more than one variable argument in the context of a message, then you would use a $sign followed by a 1, and then a $sign followed by a 2, and so on. And then you can imagine the first integer value here replaces the 1, the $sign followed by the 1, and the second one replaces the $sign followed by the 2. So you get my dog has 8 fleas and 15 ticks. So, in a nutshell, we've looked at number boxes, both integers and floating points. We've looked at lists, and we've looked at replaceable or variable arguments.